Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bad Luck Gamer, and we got a different video for you all here today. That's right, today we're going to be talking about the Dragon game. Yes, I know. It's a game that has been coming up a lot lately, and there's been a lot of people who have been making the great transition from the Great Dragon game over here to Pathfinder, where the grass is greener. And, I really don't blame you. Don't get me wrong. I played a good amount of D&D 5e. I ran Adventures League for 2 years, I think. I met my fiance at Adventures League. There's a lot in D&D that I have respected, and it really pulled me out of a tabletop funk back in the day. And I can honestly say with every fiber of my being that Pathfinder 2e is a superior game in almost every way. Now, you may hate me for it, and if you enjoy D&D, go ahead and play D&D. Play it to your heart's content. I have played D&D even after starting playing Pathfinder 2e. Now, the whole time I was sitting there thinking, oh god, I wish this was 2e instead. Pathfinder 2e, not to be confused with D&D 2e. Oh, let's not get back into those dark ages, shall we? But it is something that, we respect here in the tabletop space, or we should. Don't let a bunch of internet trolls tell you what game you should play. Play whatever game you have the best stories in and you enjoy the most. But this video is for people who want to play a superior game. That's right. So today we're going to be talking about how you can play the Warlock in Pathfinder 2e. Now, so far, the Warlock is the only class that is in D&D 5e, at least core, that is not directly transferable to Pathfinder. Now, some people might say the witch is, and we'll get to the witch in a little bit, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't have the same kind of flavor to it, you know what I mean? It doesn't have the same kind of game style that I think people are looking for, or at least not everyone. I have been a big Warlock fan since it came out. I've played many Warlocks, and I understand the power of the Blade Lock, even though I avoided it like the plague, because I enjoy more dynamic, interesting playstyles. I also like playing things that are a little janky so that I can find how they can be done well. And I think I did that a lot in D&D 5e. But I'm here to tell you today that Pathfinder 2e allows you to play pretty much every style of Warlock, or at least the important ones, because I know there's Talisman, and I know there's another one in UA. I think it's like the Starlit Chain or something like that. We don't talk about those here, mostly because they're new. I don't know them that well, and I don't think that Talisman is actually that, like, playstyle defining as much as Pact of the Tome and Pact of the Chain were, and of course, everyone's favorite Pact of the Blade. So let me tell you what you should be playing if you want to make your Warlock in Pathfinder 2e, and I'll tell you how it's just superior in every way. So first, let's address the big elephant in the room here and actually answer what you all are looking for, because I know that of the total percentage of players who actually play Warlock, like 80% of them are playing Pact of the Blade. And I don't blame you. It's really good, it's really fun, and Eldritch Smite is absolutely broken. Granted, to a point, because Warlock. And let me tell you, the Magus in Pathfinder 2e does everything the same, only somewhat better. Now, you are a martial class, and I think you get around the same HP, even though in Pathfinder it's a flat amount, and in D&D I understand that you can roll, but I do think the Warlock had D8s. You can correct me, it really doesn't matter. All that does matter is the Magus is actually trained with weapons, gets up to master proficiency with them, and can wear up to medium armor, and it's very easy to make a transition to heavy armor using some of the archetypes in the game. But wait, the real reason why you selected Blade Lock in the first place is because Eldritch Smite.
GamesTime.com audio.
You wanted to hit people with your spell slots and do extra damage. And let me tell you, Magus just does it better in every single way. They allow you to use a slotted spell, or a cantrip as a part of a spell strike. And a spell strike is a unique strike action that combines a melee hit and an additional spell damage on top of it. If you just use the cantrips for your spell strike, they will blow people up. Most of them do something actually extra on a critical hit, and honestly, things like Produce Flame, it does a lot of damage for a hit, and you don't even have to expend a spell slot to do so. And it's just a 2-action ability, though you have to recharge your spell strike. We're not going to be talking about how Magus works here in this video. You can go and check out the Why Magus is Awesome video I have here on the channel. But Magus allows you to strike with your spells, and let me tell you some juicy bits here. You can, at the end game, strike someone with 18 D10 damage, force damage, I do believe. It is on a basic it's on a basic fortitude saving throw, but if you strike them with the, I would argue, equally as good Polar Ray spell strike, which is 12 D10 plus, on it, just a successful hit, the enemy becomes drained 2, which reduces their con by 2 points. Not 2 points, but their con checks and saves, including con saves, like for Disintegrate. You can reduce that amount by 2, making them more likely to turn to ash with your next spell strike, amped up with disintegrating power. That's 18 D10. That is insane. And you can, if they crit fail the check, it doubles. They won't be there after if they somehow crit fail the check. That is a humongous hit and something that Warlocks in 5e can only imagine. And we're not even done here. Magus also has different styles that reward using different weapons. Not only that, but you can augment your style by using archetypes from different classes that match the kind of weapons you like to use to get additional martial strikes so that you're not just spell striking all the time. And honestly, it's best when you're not spell striking all the time because it gets boring. Yes, it does damage, but you could be doing other things, and Pathfinder is a more team-orientated game anyway, so one of the many abilities you can pick up from Monk if you wanted to do, get this, unarmed strikes that are empowered by magic, all good. Now, this option does miss a few things. One, you don't have a supernatural sugar daddy. I'm sorry. If you're very codependent, maybe the other 2 options I'm about to present might do it for you. But if you like the occultist's aesthetic, then very much you can just make your character an occultist who studies ancient tomes to get power from them. Yes, you're using the arcane spell list, but that doesn't stop you from actually going into other archetypes for other spellcasters to pick up theirs, like occultism, for instance, if that's more your thing. Not what I would recommend if you're just focusing on spell striking, but you can add as much as you want to this Magus, and it makes it infinitely more flexible than what D&D 5e's has to offer. So let's do a TLDR here. So damage, more damage, and you can use weapons, and you get unique styles, hybrid studies that can focus on what kind of weapons you use, and also a bunch of really cool abilities, like the ability to just etch a rune onto your weapon at will if you need a particular type of energy damage. It's really good. Next, we're going to be talking about the Pact of the Tome variant, or what I would like to call, my God, please let me be a spellcaster warlock. It's all I've ever wanted. Yes, we're talking about the Witch. And hey, as an additional little goodie bag here, you get a familiar. So Pact of the Chain, well, I got a different solution for you a little later, don't worry. But let's talk about Witch, shall we? So first of all, actual spellcaster. Look at this. Look at this. And weep For every Warlock who ever wanted to be a spellcaster, just play one in Pathfinder 2e, please. And look at this. We got patrons as well, so you can even have your sugar daddy as you wanted. So we've already answered to the things. You get a really cool familiar that acts as your spellbook, so you don't get a cool Book of Shadows, which aesthetically is cool. Instead, you give your scrolls to your paper shredder of a familiar and feed them your spells that you add to your book, which I think is overall funnier and more interesting. But wait, say you're missing the invocations that you could have picked with Magus. Well, various feats could obviously supplement that, but here in Pathfinder 2e, you can take lessons from your patron to get access to unique focus spells, and then you can use focus points to cast additional spells rather than your own spell slots, because nothing felt worse than being a warlock, looking at many of the really cool invocations, being like, ooh, I can get this spell that seems really interesting. Oh, wait, it uses my spell slot. I'm essentially using a class feature to add an additional spell to my spell list. That's terrible. Why would I ever do that? And that's a good question. Why in the world would you ever do something like that when you can play Witch here in Pathfinder 2e, be an actual spellcaster, and if you want to theme your character around various patrons or different types of occultism, well, the witch also gets to pick, essentially through their patron, what spell list they cast through. Yes, you get a choice of multiple spell lists that have actual lots of spells in them rather than what Warlock gets in D&D 5e. Now, the one downside I will give the witch is that you are as tough as a wet paper bag. You get no HP and no good ways to defend yourself, and you're an intelligence caster, so you're very, prone to death. But intelligence play, working with your teammates, and of course, the fact that you are a full spellcaster means that I'm sure you can survive the battlefield just as well as the wizard can anyway. So there we go. Pact of the Tome, done. TLDR, spells, more spells, all the spells, and bonus familiar. Just slap that on there like a sticker, because the familiars are cool, but let's do you one better. For my Pact of the Chain variant here, I'm going to take the wimpy baby familiar that you gained from Pact of the Chain. We're going to toss them in the garbage can, and instead, I'm going to give you a full-ass demon or angel or what have you, as we're talking about the Summoner, and you get an Eidolon, who is essentially a second character, and you get to play both the caster and, hey, look, more bounded spell casting. That's right, I was intelligent with this list, and I picked ones that had the same arguably better spell slots than Warlock would have gotten in D&D anyway. But yeah, so you can play a partial caster character. Who cares about that? We want to talk about the island and all the really cool things you can do with them. You get to have the big monsters. You can make them adapt to any kind of situation. Heck, one of the first things you get is Evolutionary Surge, which allows you to give your island just unique abilities as they need them for just a focus point, which you can get back on a 10-minute rest. Oh, that's something I totally forgot as well. Yeah, so Warlock, right? The big deal about Warlock is they got their spell slots back on a short rest, which, I mean, to be fair, better than Magus, better than Summoner, I suppose. But you know what? We get focus points, which either of those two can get, and they come back in 10 minutes rather than an hour. Now, I know in D&D 5e, short rest is actually an ambiguous amount of time. It's not necessarily an hour, but that's just how everyone has done it anyway. So, yeah, we get 10 minutes here in Pathfinder. So, if I haven't convinced you with just that, well, let's talk about the island some more. So, the island becomes as proficient as a martial character. And let's check out this beef here. And by beef, I mean these hit points. That's right. The Summoner gets the same amount of hit points as the fighter and actually beats out most martials as far as HP is concerned, as long as you have comparable constitution scores. And this gets translated straight to your island, who becomes an absolute beast of war, and they can level up their attributes differently than you can. So while your summoner could be the meek, weak nerd in the background with their book, your island can be the biggest, beefiest boy on the field who is out there wrecking shop. And there are just many ways you can do this. And if you are missing that patron flair that, Witch had, well, you can consider where you get your island from as a patron of a sort, as they dictate your spell list. And part of an island's lore is they are sometimes even given out by greater beings to individuals as a part of some pact. So it's not even a huge stretch of the imagination that, you have some otherworldly patron here that's connecting you to your island, and you get magical spells, and it's the same as D&D 5e, only technically better, because your multiple spell slots only typically go up to 5th level in D&D 5e. Granted, you do get your greater arcana or whatever it's called in D&D, where you get like a 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. But, well, who cares about that, because you get 4 level 8 and level 9 spells at the end here in Summoner, and I think any Warlock in D&D 5e would trade for that. And on top of that, having a full-ass whatever kind of monster at your beck and call as well. And something that I really wanted from the Pact of the Chain in D&D 5e, which I never really got. I mean, you could with some of the summoning spells, but the summoner can just be straight up a summoner. You can get a variety of different feats and abilities that enhance your summons and make you the king of summoning and binding creatures to your will, which is exactly what I wanted in D&D 5e and was never delivered to me, and I'm only a little salty, but it's okay, because I never got past level 10 with a Warlock anyway. Sag. But that is what it is. And that, my friends, is the reason why that, 1, you should switch to Pathfinder 2e if you like Warlocks, and 2, why pretty much Warlock is such a good class and people shouldn't bash it, because, Bladelock is cool and everything, but everyone doesn't like Chain or Pact of the Tome or whatever. Well, in Pathfinder 2e, you can get all the same goodness with much more impact, much more ability, and you just feel better. And even for the Bladelocks, you can just get a better feeling Bladelock here in Pathfinder 2e. So if you're transferring over from D&D 5e to Pathfinder 2e, check out these classes I mentioned here in this video. That's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.